good news, guys. We managed to make it on time for another week. We're only 8 minutes late, which is good. So we were just highlighting for the guys in the on the panel the new video that we're going to premiere. We've got actually this show's got 3 videos to premiere. So hold on. Who said that we don't provide extra entertainment? You get it on this show. It's my pleasure, as always, to introduce my co-hosts over there, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. Mr. Cook. Last week I called him Bradley, and he didn't like that, so we can't call him Bradley anymore.
To have to be told off.
And then down there we got Cy.
Long way from anyone.
He's got some good news. He's got some good news he wants to share with us. So hold on, everyone.
Oh dear, I don't know. I don't know whether this is, whether showing off is a good idea. But yes, kids. Yeah, baby, yeah. Look at that. I've had my first jab of the vaccine. Good morning, Nelson, and good morning, Arvin. How you doing? Yes, I've had my first jab yesterday, and so far, so good.
And the Facebook user that we've got in the chat, I suspect that might be Michael. Michael, who we will be interviewing this time next week on the channel. Can you just confirm that, Facebook user, if it is you, Michael? And we can talk about that.
Yeah,
it's after midnight. Yes, it is. So so guys, we'll get a bit of the housework out of the way. We are going to be interviewing Michael next week. So you've got us, you got the channel 3 days next week. You've got the 5150 show on Saturday. You've got the Sunday show with myself interviewing Michael, and then on the Monday, you've got Simon, and he's going to tell us what record we're going to be ranking. Brad and I, and Simon will be doing that on the Monday. Holy cow. So tune in if you guys want to subscribe to these Instagram pages. I'll put up Brad's. Where's Brad? There's Brad there. There he is. There he is there on Instagram, at Brad Cook Music. Easy. If you subscribe to that on Instagram, you'll keep updates with what Brad's doing, and also with the channel.
Yep.
And there he is there. There's his web page. And please subscribe to his YouTube channel. That's something that we haven't been mentioning, but we mentioned it the last time when we were on the 5150 show. If you guys can hit Brad's subscribe, hit Brad's YouTube channel and subscribe, so he can get a custom name for his channel. You need 100 subscribers to do that. Is that correct, Brad?
Yeah, that is. And thank you to everyone who's already subscribed. I really appreciate that. Through the week, I got, 10 subscribers, which was really cool. It's like, yay. So I'm up to about 82 subscribers on my YouTube channel now, which is great. So
awesome.
If I can get it over 100, then I can actually custom name my YouTube channel. Which is awesome.
Cool.
Awesome.
Quick, we just say good morning to we've got D-Tube, Arvin and Nelson. Got Ellen Forrestine, who described me as brave. If only. We've got Sonia. Good morning, Sonia. I hope you're okay. Down in Texas with the snow. Hope you're right, Sonia. Got power and things, have you? So that'll be good. So thanks for joining, guys. That's really good to see you, and I hope you're all safe and well. But,
awesome.
Yeah. Good.
And
very nice.
We have something else here to share with you guys. If you just hold on with me. There we go. There, add to the screen. So look, who's that handsome fella? Gosh. Hold on. So this video will be self-explanatory. So watch this video, guys, if you haven't seen it, please.
Good morning, Fast Eddie.
Any video?
No volume.
Okay, hold on, guys. Hold on, guys. Hold on. You have to share. You have to click a button. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. If I go here to share screen.
It's like patting your head and rubbing your stomach, isn't it?
Share the screen. You click, click the audio. Okay, so here we go. This should work.
Famous last words.
T-shirt of your choice.
Right, hold on, guys. We'll start that from the beginning.
Hey guys, Brad here from the 5150 Show. How would you like to win a T-shirt of your choice from the Van Halen store? It's simple. Go and subscribe to the British Electric Blues show that hosts the 5150 Show every fortnight, and you automatically go in the draw to win yourself a T-shirt of your choice from the Van Halen store. Simple. I'll share the link in my bio. Head on over there, guys. In 6 weeks' time, we'll be going live on the YouTube channel to draw a winner. Get into it, guys. Get involved. Peace.
Awesome, guys. Awesome, guys. Thank you very much, Brad, for doing that video. I'm going to bombard social media with that video, and if you guys can also share that. Oh, here we go.
Good morning, Teresa Maria de Souza. Brilliant name. Yeah, I've got a few new subscription handles I'm going to use. See if I can win.
Awesome. But yeah, that's something that we decided that we would do, and when we've done that, we'll do another promo with one of Brad's t-shirts as well, because if we can help grow our channel, also Brad's channel, and anyone else who is a friend of the channel. We've been sharing Warren's new channel. Is Warren here? He's not here yet, is he?
Not here yet. No.
No. So we'll share Warren's channel. So, okay. And as usual, we appreciate everybody joining us. Can I just ask Arvin? Is Arvin here?
Arvin is here.
Okay,
yes,
Arvin, can you message me? We were talking a while ago, guys, about recommendations for albums to rank, and Arvin mentioned to me in a chat Rory Gallagher, and I said absolutely. So I want Arvin to tell me what album. Yeah, and I'm happy to nominate that. So if you want to, by the end of the show, Arvin, flick me a message. We should do that Irish guitar player, because man, he drips of the blues. Dripped of the blues.
Yeah.
Phenomenal.
I saw him as well.
Awesome.
Still playing with the house lights up. At the end of the evening, still playing, house lights up, still going.
Awesome. Hey guys, we're streaming on obviously the YouTube channel, and we're streaming on all things Eric Clapton, the British Blues Facebook group, and also on All About the Blues. So it's always a pleasure to have anyone from those platforms joining us. We do get a few hits, guys, later on in the week, so that's pretty good. We're about sharing some information here, so it's my pleasure, and I'm going to stick my hand up and tell you guys that I know absolutely nothing about the album that Brad is going to mention. So I'm going to be a little bit like everybody else in the chat who probably doesn't know this album. I'm going to sit back and be schooled by the rock professor and by Mr. Cook. So I look forward to I look forward to hearing what they have to say. I've got my notes here, but I'm always keen to sit back and admit that the album that we are dealing with is one that I don't know a lot about.
Well, prepare to be schooled, Andrew.
Thank you.
Yes.
I didn't get I got this table against my album, so this is just a CD. Look at that. Ta-da, thumbnail. Literally. Yes, today we are discussing
this epic album. It's I got a marvelous little box set one.
Oh, wow.
And it's got a fantastic book. And a lot of my liner notes, a lot of my information is from this, because this was approved by Bowie, obviously. So, as we do on this channel, we like to try and keep things as fact. So, yeah, that's and I've got that as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
But this version of this is a 90s box set that came out, and I got it. But yeah, it's fantastic. It's just the quality of things they went into back in the day, you know, when they actually, I mean, they do it with LPs now, I guess.
Yep.
But like the liner notes were fantastic.
Wow.
If everyone can bear with me, like this, fantastic. The way they did albums. I mean, this sort of thing.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
They don't do this sort of thing anymore, really.
Look at that.
And the actual little book here it's really good. There's so much cool stuff in here. And like I said, I've taken a lot of my factual stuff out of this. Oh, that's awesome.
Look at that.
And
Wow.
I got this through the week. This book here. This came to me. My father sent me this one.
Wow.
And it's got a whole section on the Ziggy Stardust years. So I've sourced a little bit of information out of this as well. It's fantastic.
There's plenty as well, isn't there, Brad? There's plenty of info.
I can't see them up the damn screen. But, there's some really cool information here. I really love that picture. Yeah, that's classic Mick Ronson and Bowie actually biting his guitar strings.
I'm glad that's all he's biting.
Yeah, well, let's not go there.
Well, but
really cool pictures.
We'll get into this, but believe you me, that sent shockwaves. That image. You wouldn't believe that an image so kind of, I'll tell this story, but if you've probably read it, Brad, but in the UK, when he appeared on Top of the Pops and Starman, in the middle of Starman, he drapes his arm around Mick Ronson when Mick Ronson's playing. Right now, today that's nothing. Yeah, today I wouldn't pass comment anywhere. And yet, in 1972, when he did it, it sent shockwaves. It was like, my God, he put his arm around another man. It was like amazing. It was just like, it was like shockwaves around the teenage community. Just really in a way that you just wouldn't do now.
I don't know if you can see that, but that's a really cool picture. He's right on the side of the stage if you can't really see that, guys. And the crowd are just looking at him in amazement.
That's about right.
So there's just some really cool stuff. And that's a
look at those. Yeah.
I don't know, Andrew, if you want to
Yeah. He's wearing his Speedos.
Yeah.
Built for comfort.
But
and this,
yeah,
absolutely awesome. So yeah, I mean, I could go on. There's so much stuff in here, which is really cool.
Yeah, it's great. Pictures are fantastic. Yeah.
So.
Wow.
If you want to see more of it, there's the D.A. Pennebaker film, which you should watch. It's the Ziggy. It's called Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars, I think. Yeah,
yep.
yeah. Which is a fantastic movie about that,
night.
including his last ever performance.
Yeah, as as we're aware, this album is, and it's an absolute, for me, it's an absolute masterpiece of an album. I'm a massive Bowie fan, hence, you know.
When did you first come across him and it, Brad?
Bowie?
Yeah,
I actually got introduced. I mean, I knew of David Bowie. I knew of him
as a
name. The classic hits that were always on the radio and TV and stuff like that. And but a bit of a shout out to one of my lifelong buddies. His name is Luke Foley. I grew up with one of my high school buddies. His brother had a massive collection of David Bowie stuff, and he lent that to Luke to listen to, and I was over at my friend's house, and I was in shock.
Was this like the mid-90s, Brad? Early 90s?
Yes, mid-90s for me.
Yeah.
And I was in a bit of shock. I actually was like, I just loved the album. It just resonated with me. And obviously, like I said, grew up listening to music in the house and everywhere and stuff like that. But my first introduction, like properly to David Bowie from start to finish on an album was this one. And this is for me, it's very near and dear to my heart, this record, because there's so much in this record that defines even like little pieces of who I am as a musician, as a guitar player. Mick Ronson was a massive influence for me as a guitar player in the early. And I'm like happy to get the opportunity to go through this record. It's been really cool to listen to this album again through the week. You know, the last week I've just been flogging this record and cranking from start to finish. This version of this record I've got has actually got bonus tracks as well, which there's some really cool stuff. There's a B-side on here to the single, John and Manly Dancing, Velvet Goldmine, Sweet Head, which is cool. It's got a demo of Ziggy Stardust and a demo of Lady Stardust, which is really cool as well. But for me, this record, like the first time I heard it, and my mate Luke played it to me, and his brother's name was Brad as well. So he was a pretty cool dude. Obviously, he had the name Brad, so he's a very cool dude. And it's you know, obviously I was into the blues, I was into rock, and I was learning guitar. And Mick Ronson, man, just what a player. And songwriter, string arranger, the whole bit. He was pretty much at this point a really important, integral part in Bowie's career. So, and Bowie always acknowledges that, or did. I talk of present, but he's past now. So,
both of them, What about you, Andrew? How did you come across Mr. Bowie and this album?
Oh, quickly, I just want to sort of probably jump in with a comment that Arvin said about Bowie was he was, you either liked him or you didn't. Now, this is when you're a youngish kind of guy, so I never really listened to Bowie at all until I was influenced, because I'm easily led, you know. I never got into trouble by myself, you know. I'm easily led. A very good friend of mine was talking about Bowie, and I kind of said some derogatory statements about Bowie, and he said to me, you know, we're 15, 16 good mates. Garth Bromfield, another very good friend of mine, said, have you listened to Bowie? And I sort of kind of said no. And he gave me a couple of cassettes, and this one was the second one that I listened to, and it kind of blew me away. And then a few years later, when Bowie came out with Let's Dance, you know, with Stevie Ray, you know, and you know, Brown, I'm sorry to take away a little bit of the focus from the album that you're presenting now, but that album was huge. That album was huge. You know, I think it had, every song was a top 10 song just about. It dominated everything. It was one of those, it was like, it was a little bit like that black guy, Michael Jackson. that album transcended genres. You had different people from different music groups listening to it. You had the rockers listening to it. You had the Rastafarians listening to it. You had the pop music guys and girls listening to it. It's just phenomenal. But this album especially, I look forward to offering some comments into the songs, because I think it offers something for guitar players. I think it's it's an album that doesn't get enough credit.
Definitely. Without a doubt, some beautiful guitar tones, some beautiful playing, and personally, I've had the pleasure of playing some of these songs, a handful of these songs, in a show that I was part of. Hopefully, we'll be again once the world becomes healed. He's based in the UK. His name's Lawrence, and he runs a show called the UK Bowie Experience. And he toured over here in Australia, and he obviously was searched for a band over here. So the 80s band that I'm part of, Rewind 80s, became his backing band. And obviously being a Bowie nut, it was like a dream come true for me to actually get up and play a handful of these Bowie songs. Obviously we played 2 sets. That was like 40 songs or something. And it was an amazing experience. And oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And
this is a good opportunity to play that set. So if you guys just hold on, you're going to get 2 minutes and 22 seconds of something that's pretty cool.
Don't do that.
Recognize that guy?
Who is that, man? Who is that man?
Wow. I wish I could swear. What a tight band.
Look at that.
And you guys thought that we only had Brad on here for his good looks. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Look at that.
Oh my gosh. I'm happy to share that. Happy to share that, brother. That was
Fantastic.
just awesome.
Look at that. In spite of our backstage ribbing.
Can I just say, if you like later, guys, after our show, if you go and look at that clip, there's when I walk to the front of the stage, and I just want to say this because this is how passionate Bowie fans are, right? I walk to the front of the stage. They're in another world. They're like they're actually they're involved in a Bowie show, right? So they're sucked in. When I walked to the front of the stage, I started playing the first note, and I paused for a second because I looked at someone in the crowd, and there was tears rolling down her face, and it shocked me. It was like, I had to like reposition myself like for a split second to play, because that's how intently they were watching us. They were so engrossed in it because they love Bowie music that much. So it moved me. Like I got lost because of that, and I had to explain that, because I don't know. I looked down and they're all got the Bowie makeup on. They're all dressed as Bowie and everything, and you know, Aladdin Sane and Ziggy Stardust and stuff. And man, what an experience! It was great. And I look forward to doing it again if you know, the world heals and we can get Lawrence back over here in Australia. We'll be hopefully doing some more shows.
Well, I thought his vocals, besides you know, the guitar playing, you know, that's one subject alone, but I thought his vocals were phenomenal. That's a tight band, bro. That's a tight band you're playing with.
Well, that's the 80s band I'm part of, so they're, you know, exceptional musicians. I'm really proud to be part of that as well. So, you know, shout out to everyone involved. That's just not me. That I was just floating on top of an amazing band there as well. So, you know, fantastic. Wow. But what an experience, eh? I mean, to actually get to play one of my all-time favourite songs, like Moon Age Daydream, like it's 100 out of 10 for me. You know? So,
Brad score of the.
I've already unleashed the score for one of my songs now. So.
Oh, good. That's all right. Good. Yeah. Well, see, if I just say, of course, because I'm older than you guys, my first memory of David Bowie is that him appearing on the Old Grey Whistle Test, playing Queen Bitch, and the feet were just in Blake. You know, those, you know, the wrestling boots, you know, and the time he's playing that 12-string guitar, just like that was, you know, that's the first thing that I remember of him doing. We used to watch the Old Grey Whistle Test kind of religiously, and that was amazing. And I was at school in 1970. I was 14, and that thing you were talking about, Andrew, about a guy called Darryl, I can't remember his bloody surname. I think it might be called Darryl. He came to school with a Bowie cut. He had it dyed red, and he had that classic Bowie cut, and the shock was unbelievable. You know, 1972 kind of, you know, comprehensive school Britain was not a place, you know, as you were saying, it was like, clearly it was like, you know, the sort of, yes, as I say, the kind of shock and awe with which him turning up, you know, and going to see Bowie then in 72, you know, was an astonishing experience because of that visual thing. And as you say, Brad, you know, he went to the gig, but he had the sort of Aladdin Sane, you know, the zigzag on his face and stuff, you know. And I mean, personally, I'd never seen, you know, people had never worn kind of makeup before and stuff like that, except, you know, the glam guys, you know, which you see on the telly, you know, the Sweets and Mark Bolan and stuff, and David Bowie. But yeah, it did send those images, and that, you know, did send shockwaves, because the first time I'd ever seen anybody dress up, you know, anybody kind of try and emulate their heroes. I mean, you know, clearly the rest of us are in kind of, you know, great coats and long hair kind of thing, you know, which is, I'm not trying to look like anybody, not like that. You know, there's not that kind of, you know, I might have had Deep Purple or Led Zeppelin written on my school bag, but I wasn't, you know, clearly not looking like Robert Plant or whoever. But, you know, but then this move so that he actually went and dyed his hair. It was this kind of seismic move in a school of 1,800 people. It was just amazing, and that kind of bridging it was glam, but it wasn't glam. Clearly had more go into it than just, you know, the Sweet. Now I love the Sweet. I'm not, you know, not knocking the Sweet. You know, Blockbuster and all of that is you know, nice fun beyond fun. We just haven't got a clue what to do and all of that stuff. It's just amazing. But you know, this was, you know, one of those albums and one of those looks and one of those images that people took up for the first time that I remember in that way.
Awesome.
And yeah, you know, and those pictures you were showing, Brad, earlier took me back then. You know, that actually, you know, it was quite sort of, for, you know, for today's, it was quite a plain stage. You know, they all dressed up clearly. And lest we remind ourselves, you know, these guys, the band are, you know, bricklayers from Hull, No, I don't. Hull doesn't mean anything much to you guys, but Hull is a fishing town. Okay.
Yeah.
You know, in the north, east, and yeah, guys from Hull dressing up like that. I think they found it quite difficult as well. So, you know, never mind. But yeah.
I see similarities between the set that Brad, that clip that we just saw. You know, that was a pretty functional set that you had there, Brad. You know, you just had a backdrop there, and you know the band. But you know, to be fair, brother, the music was doing the talking. So I think that's one of the key things, Simon, that I think we have to remember is that a lot of these bands that we talk about had to rely on not dancing girls, but the band. The band had to be good.
Yeah, that's one thing I'm going to touch on when we go through this album is like the musicianship alone. So, you know, it's a great record, and you know, the majority of the tracks that we're listening to on the record are actually recorded live. So,
oh really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So all the backing stuff will be recorded live.
Yeah.
Yeah, they'll be in the room.
That was the pace they recorded back then, you know. So, look, for me, I mean, I'm a guitar head, like a lot of the people on the channel are here, including you know, Andrew and Simon.
Yep.
And like this type of thing for me with Bowie, you know, and Mick Ronson, this is what it was all about for me. It was like there was something. It was like a partnership between these two guys on this record, in my opinion. Bowie was the songwriter, obviously, but a lot of the songwriting was done with Mick Ronson, and Mick was the string arranger, the piano player. For me, that image kind of is pretty powerful because that's how together they were with the music. They were, you know, sometimes it's hard to imagine how that would be in a band situation to have chemistry with someone and write and actually create something like this. But if you guys want to, we can get straight into the album.
Just hold on for 1 second, bro. I've just pulled my notes up and I've just made a note here. And Simon asked me earlier, how did I get into Bowie? So I've just remembered something. So when I was at school, I was hanging out with this other guy that was in this band called Bauhaus. And anyway, on one of their albums, they did
Pete Murphy, yeah.
Yeah, so they did a cover of Ziggy Stardust, and I remember listening to it. You know, I don't know how, somewhere with him, and thinking, "Wow, this is pretty good." And then having a conversation with another friend talking about it, and he said, "Have you heard the original version?" And I kind of went, "No," and that's no, you know. And then that's right. And then being given the cassette tape. And then I remember listening to that album and that song in particular, going, "This original's better than Bauhaus's version," which was a little bit different then, because in the early '80s, you know, a lot of covers that were coming through were pretty good, but you know, yeah. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you, Brad. Get into the album, brother. Get into it.
Well, I want to set a mood basically for this, you know, so. This really is quite cool, and I'm going to show this. It says, with a mythical name, Bowie needed the myth to back it up. So that's pretty much like part of the liner notes. Okay. And then the next page says, the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust is that myth. So it's a concept record, right? He came into this with the idea to make a concept record. Okay. So we'll get into the album, The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars. It's a total concept album. And the album was recorded at London's Trident Studios with Ken Scott and David himself producing. The Spiders from Mars, which from my understanding were going to be called the Rats, and then they changed it to the Spiders from Mars. There's Mick Ronson on guitar. He plays piano and string arrangements. Trevor Bolder was on bass, and Woody Woodmansey. I hope I pronounced that properly on drum.
Woodmansey.
Okay, Woodmansey. Okay, I knew it was either one of the two. All compositions on the records were Bowie originals except for "It Ain't Easy," which is a Ron Davis song. Notes show that the bulk of the Ziggy album was completed prior to the release of Hunky Dory, which is the album before this record, right? So that's pretty important because in his career, he made albums fairly quickly, and when we get to sort of talking about this record and releasing it and touring, he was already recording and releasing singles for his next album, Aladdin Sane. So he was very, very much in the forefront of progressing and moving forward, which was Bowie in a nutshell. He just wanted to keep changing and keep progressing and keep moving. So the album appears to have been recorded almost entirely live in set September the 9th, 1971, followed by rapid recording sessions during the first 2 weeks of November. So they pretty much wrapped up most of their recording really quickly. Okay, so on that one day, in September 9, they recorded mostly entirely the live backing tracks, like the actual tracks that we're hearing. Originally, the album was planned, was different to what the version that was eventually released. Okay, an early discarded master tape dated the 15th of the 12th, 1971, reveals these tracks. Side 1, 5 Years, Soul Love, Moon Age Daydream, Round and Round, which got bumped, Port of Amsterdam, which got bumped, Hang On To Yourself, Ziggy Stardust, Velvet Goldmine, Holy Holy, which got bumped, Star, and Lady Stardust. So although the finished album is quite different from the early prototype, all the finished tracks were eventually released in some form. So they obviously didn't go to waste. By January 72, even though the Ziggy album was months away from being released, David had he'd begun to pull the pieces for this record and tour into place. So he already had the persona and everything in his mind, what he wanted to try and achieve. So basically, he wanted to create a rock star. He would drive around in limousines, have entourage with him. He made that persona part of his life. He used to slip in and out of character between David Bowie and Ziggy Stardust in interviews. So he actually became Ziggy Stardust, even though on the records it says David Bowie on it. So they wanted his name on it, but he wanted it to be the rise and fall of Ziggy Stardust. Okay, so dramatic. He wanted it to be dramatic. He wanted to be a rock star. He wanted to be a myth, which he created. Successfully done that. One of the striking elements of Ziggy's persona was the haircut, which Simon went into, which was given to him by a person by the name of Sue Fusi, who dyed his hair deep red and strongly influenced the line made in the Japanese theatre at the time. And the splashy, colourful, I'm going to have trouble pronouncing this because Japanese names are not my forte. So Kansai Yamamoto layouts.
Good work.
Was that it? Did I get it?
Kansai Yamamoto, yeah.
Layouts storming the fashion scene at the time. So Kansai was the person who made the original Ziggy clothing and the iconic red black stack heel boots that he wore, which were the
really?
First, which are the first to be seen in the West.
Wow.
So a big part of his persona was his costumes, guys, and it's that being part of that Bowie show that I was, the Bowie Experience, the person who was making the costumes, his name is Amy. It's a massive part of the visual point of the show, the costumes.
Wow.
They have to be right. They had to be right or it wasn't worth doing. Okay, so so where are we? On January the 11th, David and the Spiders showcased some Ziggy material during the John Peel's BBC radio sessions. The earliest airings of the songs they did were Hang On To Yourself, Ziggy Stardust, Queen Bitch, and 5 Years. In January 72, the group recorded the remaining tracks for the album, and these are the tracks they recorded: Starman, Rock and Roll Suicide, and Suffragette City. The first ever Ziggy show was performed as a trial run in Aylesbury late January. And prior to that, the band began rehearsing just for 1 week for that show. So they basically rehearsed for a week and they went out there. During this time, 21st of January, Melody Maker issue was published with the headline, "Oh You Pretty Things," where David casually announced that he was camp. So he's bisexual. Anyways, he'd always, and basically announced that he always had been. And this was something, that people thought was a media stunt, and it caused the pandemonium of what was to come. So that's pretty much the album. Like I've got tons and tons of literature and stuff. I didn't want to bore us because I wanted to get into the juicy part of it, which is the actual songs. But I'm just going to quickly look at a couple of other things out of this, and then we can, if you don't mind, is that okay?
No. I was going to say,
no, it's your show.
Yeah.
There's a couple of things in here that I think are really important that I didn't want to sort of clutter too much, and I wanted to keep the flow going without sort of boring everyone. But so basically, I'll read a little section out of this. A master tape dated February 2nd reveals that the finished Ziggy album, there was a last-minute change that occurred. They bumped Round and Round, pulled from the album, and replaced by Starman. So I think that was a really, really positive move.
Brad,
absolutely.
You know why that was, don't you? Because they delivered the album to RCA with Around and Around on it, and RCA said it's great, but we need a single.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
they went back and wrote Starman,
and they
bumped the lead single off it. Yeah, and bumped Around and Around.
And they put Starman on. So what a great move.
Well, that happens quite a lot. If you think, there's quite a lot of instances where bands will deliver an album, and the record company will say, "Yeah, but you need a single." The classic one I think of is only because it occurs to me, but is Born in the USA, where they said, "Yeah, it's great, but it hasn't got a single." So Bruce Springsteen went away and wrote "Dancing in the Dark," but only after the rest of the album was finished. Somehow there's a kind of thing about you write albums. And then you write a single because somehow the pressure's off to do it.
Yeah. Well, the single Starman was issued in the UK on April 14th to support the record, obviously. They performed it on the Liftoff and Top of the Pop show. The single was eventually released in the US, France, Germany, Holland, Yugoslavia, Japan, Italy, and Spain, as well as in Portugal. From April 17th to mid-July, David was touring solidly. And he also did a further BBC session, which was featured material from Ziggy Stardust. The Starman single was launched in the US as a teaser for the up-and-coming album. And then The Rise and Fall of Ziggy Stardust and the Spiders from Mars was eventually released on June 6, 1972. And it went number 5 in the UK charts. And obviously it just kept charting because it's a massive album. So it's definitely a concept album, guys. It's basically a fictional character that he created, Ziggy Stardust. The album examines the highs and lows of a star-making machine and most potent, and then presides over Ziggy's demise at the machinery's hands. So he wanted to kill the rock star. That was his whole idea, was to use this and then kill him off at the end of it, which is why I don't understand it. So, I mentioned that the band were previously going to be called the Rats, and then they renamed the Spiders from Mars. So David used to walk on stage and he introduced himself as Ziggy and the Spiders from Mars. That was how he introduced himself. Never introduced himself as David Bowie. To further add to the persona, the album's cover had Ziggy Stardust printed in type, as well as David Bowie. So everyone was confused. What are we actually looking at here? Is it David Bowie album or Ziggy Stardust? So it caused a lot of confusion. But You know, they toured really, really hard on this record, and they basically, at the end of it, he got sick, he collapsed on stage and passed out, and he killed off David killed off Ziggy Stardust. He said that was it, and that was it for him. Ziggy died. Yeah. So this is something that is in this, which is fantastic, and I'll read this. David later said, "It wasn't a surprise that Ziggy Stardust made my career. I packaged a total, credible plastic rock star, much better than any sort of monkey's fabrication. My plastic rocker was much more plastic than anybody's."
Yeah. Spoken like a true Englishman.
But, that's awesome. I mean, the guy was he had a vision, and he stuck with it. And in a time in the late 60s and early 70s when people were experimenting in a lot of things, it was fantastic to present that to you guys. And I don't know if you guys want to add to that. And Simon, I'm sure you probably got some stuff you want to add.
Oh, yeah. One or two things. It's I'll just pick up on Nelson Rodriguez. Sorry.
Is this when are you just answering a comment, Simon? I thought you were going to get into the Rock Professor.
Well, I can do the Rock Professor. I was going to answer a comment from Nelson. That Nelson, I saw an interview with Mike Barson, you know, the piano player who Bowie brought in to play, and him and Ronson were having a conversation on the plane, and it was like, "Well, how much are you getting?" "Well, I'm getting this." "Well, wait a minute, we're only getting 50p in a bag of crisps," you know. It's like, so they went and complained vociferously to Bowie because he had him on not very much money, or Tony DeFries did. But just a couple of things before we. I just wanted to say that the character of Ziggy Stardust is based on an English rock and roll singer called Vince Taylor.
Okay.
Vince Taylor, you may not know the name, but you will know the song, because Vince Taylor had a hit with a song called Brand New Cadillac. Brand New Cadillac is on The Clash's London Calling. It's the rock and roll song on side one of The Clash's London Calling. So if you don't know who My Baby Drove Up in a Brand New Cadillac, it's a classic kind of rock and roll thing. It's but with an American kind of slant that Bowie had. So I think it's worth saying that that's where he got some of that from, Vince Taylor. A sort of blueprint for it. He was a bit of a tragic figure, Vince Taylor, but that whole kind of persona thing, and also the Ziggy Stardust name came from the legendary Stardust Cowboy, who was a sort of an American guy, and Ziggy came from a tailor shop that he passed on a bus, which is sort of the mundanity of it is great. But I think that so I don't know if you want just odd bits and pieces I picked out of the, as you say, the myriad of information and stuff that's out there, and it is worth some decent research.
There's books. There's books, isn't there? There's screeds of books written on Bowie, and so I decided that I was going to do some research, obviously, for the show, and then realised, holy shit, there's all this stuff out there. So I was just going to rank the tracks and leave the presentation up to you guys, because I didn't know where to begin. No. But I do remember going out with somebody a few years ago, and this person telling me that David was heavily involved in the occult around the time that he was recording this album, and played it left hand, and the left hand path and stuff like that. So I always found that a little bit interesting too, because Jimmy Page, inspired by Aleister Crowley, and we all know about the theories of rock and roll, and how it goes back to all these inspired and interesting backdrops. I don't want us to be talking a lot about that, because I think what can happen is that you can find yourself in a lot of discussions that probably our channel doesn't want to be involved in. But I think it's interesting to mention that these guys had jigsaw puzzle minds. I think they were looking around and they were seeing all these things, and they were just making this jigsaw puzzle of this worldview that suited them at the time. And I think Bowie sums that up. He was just a master at it. He could take all these bits and pieces from reality and just create all these awesome different stories.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the interesting things that I remember is that before he made Ziggy Stardust, he went to America kind of on his own as a sort of,
Yes.
did that kind of a promotional thing. And kind of there, clearly, you can see the American influence seeping in the lyrics and, the imagery and stuff. But also there was that thing about trying to create a kind of, an image of that rock thing, even then by having kind of, bouncers and, stuff and security people, so even though he wasn't big, and kind of making a scene and trying to, create stuff and joining up with Andy Warhol in New York and seeing that whole kind of New York scene, because he was really,
and creating the sacrifice. He was creating a sacrifice too, Simon. He was there in the middle of industrial America, this place that gave us rock and roll, and here's this Englishman giving them another version.
Yeah. So I think that kind of that American kind of thing plays into it as well. Susan, do you want your email address to be showing on the screen? I don't know. We'll wait till you come back to answer that. But yeah, so I think that it kind of that kind of world, that kind of different world vision, because clearly America was a completely different place to Britain in the 68, 69, 70.
I think Alan's right here too about Rono, and I think we'll get into this a little bit more with some of the songs. Yeah, and I think again, I know that Brad's waiting to get into the ranking of the tracks, but I think and he it's like most of these albums that we are talking about, they are a partnership, and you just can't take Ronson away from what this album is.
No. And we are going to talk about Ronson a little bit moving forward too.
Yeah.
All right.
Just a couple of things.
We got the rock professor.
We got the rock professor.
Hold on. I told you guys you're going to get 3 videos. You got 2 videos. You got Brad talking about if you subscribe to the channel, you go into a draw to win a free Van Halen t-shirt. So you guys need to get your friends to subscribe to this channel so that you can say that you helped them win a free Van Halen t-shirt. Okay, so that's fine. We showed Brad doing this awesome guitar solo. Now we're going to show you this.
Pay attention, class. It's the Rock Professor here with another look at the events surrounding this week's classic album.
Yeah. Did you guys hear that all right?
Love it.
Yeah. I can redo it if it's a bit quiet, a bit louder. But so yeah, a couple of interesting. That the Ziggy Stardust tour in February the 10th started at the Toby Jug pub in Tolworth in Surrey. An auspicious venue. Probably hold 200 people kind of thing. And also that thing about that we're talking about, they went on tour and played it before it had been released. Yep. And I noticed that the other people doing that of this period was Pink Floyd debuted Dark Side of the Moon at the Dome in Brighton on January the 27th, and it wasn't released for another year. Dark Side of the Moon. They would. I mean, you wouldn't do that now. Nobody would be doing that now. But now they took it all out on the played it and stuff like that. And I found a nice one for you, Andrew, which is that Keith Richards jumps on stage to jam with Chuck Berry at the Hollywood Palladium, but is ordered off for playing too loud. Well, and Keith Berry later claims that he did not recognise Keith and would not have booted him off if he did. Yes, he would. Oh, yes, he would. Yes, absolutely. It's yes, Alan, they did. Yeah. Just on the circuit, but it's not exactly Wembley Arena, is it? It's Wembley Stadium. But just a bit of context, guys. Just so we're the albums for this year: Paul Simon's first album, Paul Simon, Neil Young's Harvest, Machine Head, Deep Purple, Rio Grande Mud by ZZ Top, Bobby Whitlock. That's a kind of a bit of an in for us. The first Eagles album, of course, Lou Reed's Transformer, which was produced by Mick Ronson and David, and Sailing Shoes by Little Feat, the first Roxy Music album, and School's Out by Alice Cooper, and the first Roy Buchanan album, which, if you don't know the first Roy Buchanan album, Sweet Dreams is a masterclass in volume control. So check that out if you never have. It's a beautiful, beautiful thing. So yeah, I mean, in terms of like world things going on, there's a lot of, the Vietnam War continues and various other troubles and things I'm not going to go into. But my favorite thing was the first scientific handheld calculator was introduced. $395. Kids, I don't know how much that is now. It's probably about $4,000. I don't think so. And Boris Spassky and Bobby Fischer play for the World Chess Championship in Iceland, and Bobby Fischer wins. It's a real Cold War classic, that, Russia versus the US. Sorry, there's some background from the rock professor.
Awesome.
To get us into it.
Thank you, rock professor. Oh, I love it. I love that little intro. That's awesome.
What was I thinking? Yes.
So what do we want to do, guys? Do we want to get into the tracks, or do we want to quickly do a tone tip thing, or what do we want to do, Andrew? It's you're the boss, mate.
No, I think if you get into maybe a couple of tracks, maybe after Starman, we'll do a Brad's tech and tone tip, if that's okay. I think if we just get the show rolling and see what our rankings are, I'll be keen. But after Starman, sounds good.
Sounds great. Well, what an album, guys, and a way to open the album. Just keep in mind that this is a concept record and there is a theme along in some of the songs. Which is very important. And the track listing the way they've done the track listing is really, really quite amazing. So the first track, the first track is called 5 Years. Comes in with a fading drum, a minimalistic kind of drumming. It's, I don't know if you've listened to it, guys, but it fades in.
Yeah,
basically. It's very dramatic. It's very dramatic with the piano. The way that Bowie sings is very dramatic. He's very relaxed and very, not relaxed, but he's singing very calmly, and then he starts escalating that up to a point where he's almost like screaming, I guess, for a lack of better ways of putting it. He's actually putting himself in a position of the character that he's portraying. And the lyrics is based around the fact that the Earth has 5 years left before it's destroyed by an apocalyptic. A disaster. And basically, if you have a listen to how he sings it, it's like from his point of view, and he's talking to someone. So I think it's I read somewhere that it's a point of view of a kid, and then it basically is from the point of view of his character Ziggy Stardust. So there's a lot of depth in there. But if you listen to the music, it's really dramatic. I'm going to hand it over, but I rate this a 9 out of 10. There's never a skip, and it sets the mood of the record.
Yeah, it has that kind of that apocalyptic vision that he plugs into. Is a kind of feeling of the time around the Cold War, because the Cold War with the Berlin Wall and that antagonism between Russia and the USSR, I should say, and the US particularly. Was very prevalent then, and this plugs into that. And I think that one of the things we need to remember about that time was that, you know, the threat of nuclear war hung heavy over us all. It was something that was there, that kind of apocalypse that, you know, I think, you know, most of us believed that it was, you know, it was a cigarette paper's width away from from going off, basically, you know. And there were films about what to do in a nuclear war, you know, kind of, you know, if you hear the sirens, you hide under the table, kind of thing. It's like that's going to protect you. But and you know, the advent of CND, you know, and the peace movement, clearly from the late 60s, was going on. So I think that this plays into that kind of paranoid public feeling of the world and what it was, you know, where it was at that particular time, and completely different to now, you know. And if we think about it, you know, 71, 51 is only 25 years since the end of the First World War. You know, most of the people are, you know, can still remember the war. In the early 70s, you could still wander around London. There were still bomb sites, you know, where the cities have been bombed in the Second World War. So very much, you know, that kind of, you know, ominous kind of feel about the country. You know, we're just trying to get ourselves back on our feet. And we had, you know, there were strikes and a 3-day week and all sorts of stuff in the early 70s going on that meant that the UK particularly was quite a sort of black and white world, really. And so that kind of apocalyptic vision plays into that social, you know, feeling, the social movements of the time, which is really good. I think it's you know, it's a fantastic way to start. I'll pick out a couple of things. You know, I think you know, it's funny, isn't it, that a lot when I've clearly I've had this album since 1972. You know, so I've listened to it over the years, and there's a massive amount of talk about, oh, this is a guitar album. But you know what? I was amazed at the amount of piano and stuff that's actually on it, and how much piano-led song seem to be, a lot of them, in a way. I think the guitar has a absolute, you know, is a because it's the key thing. It does all the punctuation, you know, does those beautiful melodic solos and all that stuff. You know, it's the kind of the icing on the cake. But basically, it's still a piano album. Like, I mean, Hunky Dory is a piano album, you know, because I had Rick Wakeman on it playing piano. But a couple of things occurred to me. I mean, particularly, I thought that some of the lyrics were quite Dylan-esque. You know, cop kneeling and kissing the feet of a priest, and that is quite Dylan-esque sort of lyrics. I think, you know, I had that sort of feeling that had some Dylan in there. And also the other thing that was the strings. You know, a lot of string arrangements on this record. You
That's
know, not. Yeah, that's me. Oh, absolutely, yeah. And that kind of, those strings and that way of doing things, kind of harking back to the sort of English music hall, kind of, you know, particularly, I don't know if you've come across him, Anthony Newley, who's one of Bowie's early influences and stuff. Quite sort of a Renaissance man, Anthony Newley. It's difficult to, you know, he wasn't just a sort of, you know, middle of the road singer. He did satire, comedy, everything, you know, he sort of wrote and stuff. So he's an interesting person for Bowie to sort of latch onto in terms of style, in some ways. So yeah, I agree. I think it's a great opening. That sort of the sort of ominous drums at the beginning and stuff that bring it in. So I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 as well. So, you know, for me, great start.
Awesome. Yeah, I think the sounding of the drums at the start indicates very clearly that this is a concept album. And, you know, I kind of thought that was what was going to happen when I first heard it years and years ago. But this song reminds me of a war cry, and I think Brad mentioned it earlier, you know, how Bowie starts off delicately with his vocals, and his vocals are remarkable. You know, it's just, we talk about guitar players setting the tone, and we can pick them when we hear them on a tune or something like that, but just David Bowie has a unique voice. Yeah. And certainly the appeal that we have, you know, we can talk about his personas, his images, we can talk about his lyrics, but, you know, at the end of the day, the guy is a singer, was a singer, and I just love it. I just think it's remarkable. It's a great opening track. It's a war cry. It's like a psych up session before you get out there and hit the rugby paddock or something. That's the feeling I get, and it's a solid 9 out of 10.
Yeah, excellent. So we're on the same page, which is really good. It's a beautiful track. It's dramatic. It's got everything in it, and definitely lots of piano and lots of string sections and stuff like that, which were a lot of credit goes to Mick Ronson for that stuff, because he was driving that, which is part of the reason why this album's so epic and why Mick Ronson's such an integral part of this record and Bowie's career.
Remarkable.
Mm-hmm. So the second track, Soul Love, this is one of my, I absolutely love this track, and I think I've mentioned to the guys in the Bowie Experience and that if we ever play again, I want to do this song because we never played this one. Such delicate playing on the guitar. There's beautiful acoustic playing. I love the drumming, the bass playing. It's a beautiful track, and the saxophone solo that David Bowie does is really soulful and very mellow and puts you in a mood. It's got a lot of mood to it. The track itself is kind of like a bit of a follow-up to the first track. So for 5 years, and the lyrics are about lots of characters dealing with love before the impending disaster that the Earth is described in a destruction. So basically, it's kind of like a follow-on from the song prior to that. But if I was to play someone a good example of David Bowie on a delicate note or a soulful note, this would be the song I'll play for them. And I gave this song a 10 out of 10. Yeah, I love it.
Wow, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
No. One of the things that struck me about this, Brad, that when I was listening to it, that it seems to me that it's very much, and I was trying to think about other things like this, but it's very much a rock album. By that I mean that it seems to be an album that you need to sit down and listen to. It doesn't have a kind of disagree with me. For my thing was that it wasn't a dance record. It didn't have a dance thing going on. Yeah, I didn't feel as though as though it had some, that there was a dance element to it in any way. That it seemed to me like an album that you sat down and you listened to. Yeah, and clearly to me that was the intention, and therefore the drumming is different. The and very much that thing about, and it's also, I would say about it, that it's not really based in the blues in any way, shape or form. I don't think there's much blues stuff on here, is there? I mean, all those, the Mick Ronson guitar solo is a kind of melodic thing, isn't it? Dun, 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 dun. He plays the melody of it rather than pentatonics, if you like. Which I think is interesting. I think that's my assumption. I don't know that was something that Bowie had picked up from the Velvet Underground, who deliberately were not a blues band. They deliberately didn't play blues pentatonic stuff. They played kind of melodic leads and those things. And I feel like he took that and brought it into this album as well. So I think to its that, and I think it's the beginning, the advent, 71 of albums where you sat down and listened to them, rather than dance. They didn't have the, if you listen to Rolling Stones record, it's got that dance thing. If you listen to early Zeppelin, and we've talked about Zeppelin, there's always that kind of thing. You could dance to those records. They had that swing, that kind of thing. Whereas this is not like that. This is different. I presume deliberately, and I think enhances that feeling that it's a sort of concept album. It has a story, it has a viewpoint, it has things to say, and it wants you to sit down and listen to those things and not just dance. You think that has some validity? Did you feel that?
Oh, well, without a doubt, the flow of the album is to sit down and listen to it from start to finish, without a doubt. It's written that way. Obviously, the track, the way they arrange the tracks, like coming into the next song, I won't go into it yet, but yeah, the way it comes into the next song is like, that's where the album takes off. It's like leading you into it, and then it goes into it. So,
sure.
Andrew, what are your thoughts on the song, Andrew? Obviously, you're a bit surprised by my rating. So.
yeah. Oh, look, I've given it a 9 out of 10. It's interesting that you said that you would show or play this to to someone that hadn't heard Bowie, for something that was like delicate and a softness towards Bowie. That's worth considering. I always thought for years the acoustic guitar part was Bowie, because, you know, we got those clips of him playing 12-string guitars, you know, in the late 60s. So I always thought it was him. Never thought it was Bowie playing the saxophone for years. Didn't know that. Wasn't it? Yeah. It wasn't until I, you know, maybe read something or got told, you know, by somebody, where I went, oh, okay, all right, yeah, you know. So I'm glad that we're on the same page with 5 Years and Soul Love being the entree, because that's certainly the feeling you get when you sit and listen to this album in context, and that's a good point to make, you know. And we've got to continue to raise that when we talk about these albums. These albums were made to sit and listen to, and for a long time I couldn't understand why some of the best songs in the end were at the end of the record, until I realised again concretely that Bowie was in control and this was a journey. So 9 out of 10.
Yeah, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. I like the fact that just a small point, the drums kind of coming in again, echo 5 Years. You know, is that kind of kind of thing with it. But yeah, I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. You know, it's a integral part, not to be skipped.
Well, that sort of, I kind of opened up a little bit what I was going to say about the next song, Moon Age Daydream, which is like, you've had your little introduction to the record and the journey that it's going to take you on, and then Moon Age Daydream hits, and we're hit with ferocious sort of playing on guitar, and the drumming and the bass playing is moving around. There's a lot of movement in the song. There's a lot of tension, and it's like a minor key. The song in itself is a masterpiece, in my opinion. One of Bowie's greatest songs. I absolutely love this track. Look, for me, it's no secret that obviously I'm a big David Bowie fan, and Ziggy Stardust and Mick Ronson. I think Mick Ronson shines on this song. It's a lot of his delicate
deep cut.
During
it's a
the
deep
verse,
cut, isn't it?
Oh yeah, and the verses, like if you listen to the guitar playing in the verses, there's delicate playing. He rolls the volume back on his guitar. He's playing all that delicate stuff. Yeah. And then the big epic parts with the what he's doing on guitar to complement all that. Then as the song kicks off, it's like a journey within itself, the song. So without going round repeating myself, Mick Ronson shines. This song, Bowie puts so much passion into the song, and I gave it 100 out of 10. It's
the first Brad score of the evening.
It's by far one of my all-time favorite Bowie songs. When I learnt this song for the Bowie experience, I couldn't stop getting goosebumps as I was playing the parts. Yeah, wow. It was that for me. So that's
fantastic.
Yeah. What music should do? I could talk about this for an hour. So
carry on.
It's best I don't. So I'll hand it over to you guys.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is one of the centerpieces of the record, isn't it? Certainly on side one. I think the thing I'd point out is, what I like about it is that there's as you alluded to, Brad, there's lots of different parts. There's the saxo, there's some strings, there's piano, there's and they move between the things, and really well. I think that's a tribute to Mick Ronson's arranging and stuff, sorting all of that out. And I think it's that interesting thing about introducing new stuff, changing the musical setting of things a lot is as you go through. I think is really cool, and I thought, and of course the improvised Mick Ronson solo over the strings at the end. That's an improvised solo. He just did it the once.
The freak out, far out,
knocking out, yeah.
And that's one thing I want to bring up without sort of cutting you off, Simon, is the freak out.
Cut me off.
Far out. I love that bit. Yeah. Anyway.
In out.
Freak out. Yeah. Far out.
So yeah,
Far out.
It's and again, I think there's sort of the synth noises as well in the background and stuff. This is early days for the synthesizer. Look, just like that. Only not that, but portends what Bowie went on to do later. Synthesizer stuff being much more central to his Berlin trilogy stuff. It's but yeah, really great. I'm giving it a 9 out of 10. I think it's a classic.
Yeah, look, I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. I just I think Brad he's hit the mark there with the volume control. When you're a guitar player, you know exactly what's going on. He's writing that volume and he's playing it, and that's live. So from a guitar point of view, that's really, really good. You don't probably get a lot of that now because a lot of that stuff has been done, on the mixing. You don't hear a lot of the actual control happening with the guitar. So that's a wonderful piece. Again, Moon Age Daydream, the title, again, Bowie's inspired by the occult, the Moon Age, being part of the new era of mankind, rising out of the ashes of the old world. So, he's captivated clearly by this imagery. It's a 10 out of 10 for me. It's a deep cut. And I think Alan has hit the mark too in the comments. Some of the live versions, and we like to talk about live versions of songs that we talk about on these albums, are probably better than some of the tracks. But yeah, check out the live versions. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, check out, was it Live in Santa Monica? Live in Santa Monica is the one. Yeah. I've had it on tape for years. I should get a copy.
Phenomenal.
Phenomenal.
Could I say just at the beginning, I'm an alligator.
Yeah.
That's a great opening hook, isn't it?
Like far out, man.
It's
I think, but that interesting thing about having a vocal hook to start, that I think is really cool, and by doing it like that in that way, I'm an alligator on his own, just is a real hook, vocal hook.
That was a saying. That was a slang here in New Zealand for a long time. If you said,
I'm an alligator.
No, far out. Like if you said, guy, Brad Cook's a pretty good guitar player. He's far out, man. It's like, oh yeah, far out, far out.
Far out, man.
But if you listen to the way that Moon Age Daydream comes in from Soul Love, it's like it just impacts straight in. There's no gap. It's like bam, straight in. So it's very evident that it's part of a journey. Okay. So Starman, this is the song that was written in response, obviously, to RCA's president. I think it was. Who was it? Dennis Katz. That he wanted a single because there was no single. He said, "Where's the single?" So they bumped a song that they'd recorded, Round and Round, which was a Chuck Berry song, put Starman on it. So obviously a really, really, really good move because Starman, I think everyone knows this song. It's played on every radio station that I've ever listened to. I knew this song before I heard this album. Before I heard this album, I knew this song. So it was evident that it was a big song. Look, for me, the acoustic guitars, everything about it, that single note thing is just phenomenal. So for me, this song here,
we're gonna get banned.
Yeah, don't ban us.
I'm gonna get us banned.
You'll get banned.
The acoustic part of the song. It's a beautiful song. I believe it was. Are you listening to it, Andrew?
Oh yeah, I just love this song, man. I just
He's misbehaving at the back.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
We're gonna get banned.
I'm the naughty shit that used to sit in the back of the class and not pay attention to the teacher.
Far out, man.
Well,
sorry, I'm listening.
I'm freaking out. I'm firing out. So yeah, I've sort of lost my train of thought now, but it's an epic song, guys. I'm sure everyone in the chat has heard this song. Now, if anyone here rates this lower than a 10, it's time.
They're permanently banned.
That's it, permanently banned. Yeah.
You're not coming back.
You're not coming back. So obviously, I've just given my score as 10 out of 10. It's never a skip. Never a skip. Bowie sings beautifully on it.
No pressure then.
It's just brilliant. A masterpiece. 20 out of 10.
20 out of 10. Come on, Brad score. We've got to have a Brad score. Yeah. I mean, yes, I agree. Clearly the pressure's off. We're going right a single, and
what a song to write.
Yes, so I love the kind of the acoustic and that acoustic guitar, and as I say, and then goes into the song, and clearly, it's a long way from the blues. One of the things I've known this forever. I think that the I'm a starman waiting. Well, that is taken from Over the Rainbow.
Yeah.
Somewhere over the rainbow. That's it's sort of classic piece of stealing some classic piece, not stealing, but kind of referencing it and stuff, which I think is really cool. Again, a really nice melodic guitar solo, and I think that's that's one of the key themes for me is as you said, Brad, that Mick Ronson when he plays, it's a thing. It's not like it's not like a sort of it's a long way from Led Zeppelin. In terms of its, I don't know what the quote from the Supremes, Alan, is. What's the quote from the Supremes? You keep me hanging on.
The little outro,
and that kind of
the solo piece is just so emotional. It's like you can just hear Mick Ronson. He's probably not even looking at what he's playing. He's just feeling the right notes. So it's beautiful.
yeah. And I'm giving it a 4. No, 10.
Far out.
Freak out.
Freak out in a mood 80. He's giving it a 4. Run.
You're locked out permanently.
Forever. Yeah.
Look, it's a 10 out of 10. It's a 10 out of 10 for me, guys. And I think you've hit the nail on the head, Brad. It's a song that everybody knows. And there's a couple of songs on here that people would know before they know this album, and I think that's the depth of this album. So if this song can hook somebody into go and listen to the album or buy the album or stream the album, we've done our job here, haven't we, guys? It's a beautiful song. It's a song that you could play to a girlfriend, to a lover. It's a song that you can play even at a party. You don't have to make it a difficult song. It's pretty easy. I love it. I just think it's fantastic. And when that band comes in, that bass, it just takes it up to another level. 10 out of 10, Brad. It's just about perfect.
I'm going to read something here that I forgot to bring up just about Starman, but I'm glad that you all rated it 10 out of 10, which is you're all safe. You're all safe. But the lyrics are keeping it in theme for the record, and the obviously the concept. The lyrics describe Ziggy to Stardust, bringing a message of hope to the Earth's youth through the radio. Salvation by an alien starman. So they obviously. It was concept. We have to write a single, but we've got to keep it in theme. So that was something that was quite amazing, really, that David Bowie was really good at doing that.
And that's not a theme that hasn't escaped a lot of musicians. Dream Theater came out 2 years ago with a album, because all their albums are concept albums with the same theme, you know. Music has been lost.
I'll be right back, guys. Hold on.
No problem. Music has been lost. It's been taken over by this authoritarian power. And then all of a sudden, this young person, this young guy discovers music and what it can do. And all of a sudden, they're after this person because we can't have music. A little bit similar to this theme here with Bowie and this album. I've got to reiterate your point, Brad. I've got to reiterate it. It's a concept album. And it's not an album that you and I could sit here and say, well, look, you know, maybe the second to last song should be the opening track. And if you start doing that on this album, you've missed the whole idea of the album. It's not one of those albums.
No. And I say bring back concept albums and bring back that thing that's lost in music today, which is about music having a theme, listening to an album from start to finish. I would love to see Spotify burn, streaming platforms burn. I didn't mean to say that.
That's all right.
And albums be at the forefront and actually see people buying an album and putting it on as an experience. Like, you know, like I said, the first time I heard this, we were sitting listening to this. Like we sat, obviously we had a coffee or whatever it was, but we were listening to the record from start to finish. So, yeah, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I say bring back concept records. Yeah. I've seen a few things in the chat there that you brought up, Andrew, which might bring us to maybe. Do you want to talk about the tone tips and stuff like that now?
Yeah. So this is a good opportunity.
Do you want to do the last song on this side and then we do it?
Yeah, okay. Or well, it's your show, so yeah. Okay, you introduce the next song, and we'll talk about that and give it a ranking, and then you can give us a tick and tone tip. Awesome.
Yeah. Well, obviously, It Ain't Easy. I mentioned in the opening that it's a cover. It's the only cover on the album. For me, this song, it's dramatic. It's relevant to the theme of the album, starting with the piano, like the way the song starts and then it builds up and there's that epic guitar playing through the album, through the song. For me, I didn't rate this one as high the first time I listened to it. And then obviously the more I listen to it, because I'm listening to it from start to finish of the record, it's really, really great version of this song, because I went and tried to listen to the other version of it as well. And the way they've done this fits with the theme of the record, which is incredible, the way they've done it. So I gave this an 8 out of 10, and it's never a skip.
Yeah. It is interesting, that, isn't it, that and I'm conscious of this when you play any covers bands, mostly, that thing about you take a song, and I listened to the Ron Davies version as well, which is a completely different thing to the David Bowie version. That you take that song, you filter it through David and the Spiders from Mars, and what you get is a song that sounds like the Spiders from Mars. And I think that if you can bring that much of yourself to a cover version, and make it so that it fits, the sound, the vision, the content fits what you're doing with the other songs. I think I have no higher praise for anybody who can do that as a thing. So for me, it's I like the harpsichord bit. That's Rick Wakeman, of course, playing harpsichord on it. And I think that it has that kind of dramatic thing, doesn't it? Certainly the beginning of it, that under the lyrics, and when you climb to the top of the mountain, look out over the sea, this kind of has a drama to it. I think that is really cool, and great solo playing again by Mick Ronson and things. And again, the kind of having a harpsichord. First, not had a harpsichord before, but clearly the harpsichord thing is by 1972 is coming in, yes, and all of that, and a bit of prog rock and things. So that those things are broadening the palette of things you put on songs and stuff. So I'm giving it an 8 out of 10 for sure. And you know, as I say, not a skip. And I think,
awesome.
Yeah, that's right, Alan. Yeah. So other people covered it as well. Three Dog Night and Long John Baldry covered it before Bowie did, but so you must have heard it. Maybe you heard it from them. But yeah,
I
really
think
good.
I think it's an interesting album, interesting song for side one, because it's taking you on a downhill slide. You're on some cardboard and you're sliding down. You have to get up. You have to physically go to your record player or your turntable. You have to take the record off and turn it over and put it down onto side two. So that's the context I think that people need to understand with some of the songs that we listen to. Brad mentioned it earlier, Simon, when you just shot off to go and grab another drink. Spotify doesn't give you that experience of turning the album over. So there's an expectation there as a listener, So I've rated the song 7 out of 10, just because it's a downhill slide, but still on the journey, still on the trip. We're still on the bus ride. We've still got our $50 ticket. We haven't jumped off the bus.
Get off the bus, boy.
Far out. I think that might have to be the channel slogan from now on. Far out.
Freak out.
Freak out.
Welcome to 1969. Yeah, far out, man.
Every time someone says far out from now on, you got to reply with freak out.
Freak out. Far out.
Yeah. I do think, Andrew, that is a really good point about, in those days you programmed 5 songs to fit together as a side and have an arc and have a have a journey that goes through them, whatever that journey exactly is. And I think this album does that, beautifully. And as you say, listen to it on Spotify or indeed on CD doesn't quite, unless you're conscious of it, it can not give you that experience. And that psychological thing of getting up, turning it over, is a really interesting psychological thing that an album forces you to do. That's why I like them so much.
Yeah, we're friends of vinyl here.
Oh, not half.
Bring it back. Bring it back.
Well, I've never went away as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. What else? I mean, whenever I buy an album now, I will buy it on vinyl, not on CD.
Yeah.
Always, I can always put it on my phone if I want to listen to it in the car or whatever. So, I mean, I've got my friend Ariel Posen has got a new album coming out in March. So I've ordered that on vinyl, absolutely, because vinyl's the thing. See, vinyl, yes,
yes. So, so there's a fair few people in the chat. How many people are watching us at the moment? Do we know?
We've got 11 people.
Yeah, that's cool.
We had 15 at one stage. Okay,
Thank you all.
Hold on, ladies and gentlemen, for another video. Here it is. Without further ado, far out!
Freak out.
Now it's time for Brad's Tech and Tone Tips.
I want a flame too.
See what I do to the channel, Andrew? Far out, mate. Far out. Freak out. Freak out. Freak out. Far out. All right, so there's been a few things come up in the chat. I've sort of lost them now, so I was going to bring up the person who mentioned it. So I don't know if anyone...
Alan.
Oh, okay. So, this is my Voxwire. So... this is one I use for recording, but I want to explain. He mentioned something about the cocked wah. So it's called a half cocked wah tone. So obviously everyone knows this that's in the channel. Yeah, everyone's aware of what that is, a wah pedal. So it gives you that waka waka wah, and it's controlled by the expression is controlled by that. So Mick Ronson used this quite effectively. Instead of using as a way to go waka waka wah, he used to half cock it to get like a flatter tone, to get that flat tone. So it used to kind of give like a thicker, like, because obviously when you push the pedal all the way forward, it's all the way treble, and then when you come back, it's more bass. So he used to go about halfway or just half cocked and get that throaty tone. That's what I was trying to find the word for. It's a real throaty tone. So if anyone here wants to have a little go at that in their own time, not while they're watching our channel, obviously, but yeah. That's Mick Ronson. A lot of his tones, if you listen to the record intently and focus on the actual guitar playing, that's a throaty tone, they call it, and you'll find the sweet spot. It's not necessarily the same on every wah pedal either, obviously. So that in itself, with a cranked Marshall. Now, I just want to quickly talk about Mick Ronson's gear, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a really integral part of the show because we're all blues guitar nuts and whatnot. So I just want to say that Mick Ronson, he had a Gibson Les Paul. It was a 68, which was one of the first, like a reintroduction to the humbucker style pickups into the Gibson again in 68. I think there was about 8 years or 7 years or something. They didn't have the humbuckers in there. He removed the humbucker covers to get more top end and a little bit more, arguably, more output as well. He actually removed, it was a Black Beauty, and this sort of hurts me to talk about doing this to poor Black Beauty, but he actually removed, I don't know if you can see that.
Yeah.
So it's a natural finish. He removed the top coat of black off.
Oh, we won't punish him.
But in 1970, I mean, in 1972, that's what you did to a guitar from 68, because it's like a new guitar, isn't it? And you just go, it's a guitar, and lots of people did stuff to their guitars that you, in hindsight, you're going, what?
Yeah, they were just tools of the trade. So basically, that in itself, that's what he actually did to his guitar. Obviously, that was, I mean, it hurts me when I see those sort of things now. Because, I have to sort of agree. Maybe it gave him more top end response or something. I have to agree with Mick Ronson because I'm not going to argue with Mick Ronson, Sir Mick. But yeah, so he did it for a reason. It was a tool of the trade. You've got to remember, back in those days, it was a 68 model. It was 1972. It was only a few years old. He didn't care. It was just a tool of the trade, yeah? And he used a Vox tone bender, a fuzz tone bender style pedal to get a lot of his tones when necessary. We want more fuzz. And he did use Marshall Majors, which were 200 watt Marshalls. So you can imagine
200 watt Marshalls.
You can imagine the volume of the. I've never heard a Marshall 2. I've never heard a Marshall Major. You can just imagine if they're saying they're not getting enough response and volume out of a J&P 100 or whatever it was that they were using back in those days. Just imagine the sound out of a 200 watt Major.
I think there's. I mean, clearly having seen it, right? People would have walls of Marshalls stuff. I'm not sure that anyone actually plugged in, but yeah, I don't remember it. It's a long time ago. I don't remember it being like wildly louder than, I don't know, Black Sabbath or anybody else I saw around that time. I think maybe it's not so much beyond a certain point about volume, but about having a big sound. Clearly, if you've got there's only you, bass and drums, that's a lot of things to fill if you're when you're playing and stuff. So maybe it's to do with that, because I presume a 200 watt Marshall is not really louder than a 100 watt Marshall. It doesn't work like that. I think you're right. Volume doesn't work like that, does it?
I think it was more about perhaps getting some kind of natural overdrive. I think maybe, I don't know. I haven't studied the question in depth, but that's kind of where I'm leaning. It was more about natural overdrive as opposed to volume. They had pretty good PA systems, didn't they, around that time when they were touring? So I don't think that was much of an issue. And when you consider those photos, Brad, that you showed us at the top of the show, some of those kids would have had, if it was really, really loud, would have had blood coming out of their ears. So, a lot of sacrifices to the Starman going on, So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think the other thing you've got to say is that that if you're playing a 2,000-seater, hall, which is what that tour's about, that actually having a Marshall cranked with 2,000 people in it, that those bodies will soak up that sound a lot. So I think that that clearly not having. As I say, my feeling about it is perhaps the guys, someone like Alan, would be able to correct me on this, but my feeling is that 200 watts is not louder than 100, is it? The volume thing doesn't work like that. So my assumption is that that there's something else about it that makes you inspire, that makes you play using that.
You're right, Alan. We spoke about that at the top of the show. Simon mentioned that Hull is famous for two things: fish, three things: fish, Hull Kingston Rovers, and the Spiders.
And Hull. There are two rugby league teams in Hull.
Yeah, that's right.
Let's not leave out the Hull, otherwise. Hull. And Hull City. Yeah, there are. Yes, Hull is only famous for three things: fish, fish, and fish.
So, to finish off, he used it as a tone filter. Okay, so to get that more mid-range thickness, just that half-cock tone, which a lot of players do and have done. But I think Mick Ronson, in my opinion, had a signature guitar tone. And
did you have that? Did you have that for your tribute when you were playing with your Bowie tribute band?
Yes, I did use this cool. Pedal in particular, this one.
And that gave you the tone. You were happy with the tone?
Yes. Obviously, I was riding the wah a little bit in the rhythm parts and everything, but in solos where there was no wah pedal, I turned it off because I just wanted to be more predominant in the mix with my real guitar tone. But my real guitar tone, I tried to mimic Mick Ronson's, is what I was getting at anyway. So, but he used to use it not all the time. That it wasn't constantly half cocked. It was used as an effect.
And one more question before we get on to the track rankings. The singer that you were backing, did he offer any opinion or any advice as far as tone and sound and mixing? Was there anything like that from him?
I think he was, obviously, because he's such a he's been doing it for a long time too, like the actual show itself. So he's quite big on authenticity, and so that was a big major factor for him that we did it as authentic as possible. But so
you weren't going to turn up with a Strat.
Well, the point of the matter is because we toured, I had to take minimal amount of gear, which was because you're flying and stuff like that. So you can't lots of good gear. It was minimalistic, tried to make it as effective as possible. And I think, this was the main guitar I used, but because I've got the push-pull pots to get Strat tones as well. So when we were playing, David Bowie era with Stevie Ray Vaughan and, the other era where there's a lot more Stratocaster tones, I was just using this as well.
Cool.
Okay. Because we're doing stuff like Fashion and all sorts of things, Ashes to Ashes.
Yeah. Which and you needed
through the 80s. That's a different thing, isn't it? Yeah, completely.
And you need that Stratty tone then.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a pretty versatile Les Paul in the sense where but there's no substitute for a Les Paul tone in my opinion. Like you can still get close with other guitars, but the majority of the show, I wanted the Mick Ronson side of it to be as close as humanly possible as I could make it, because I have that level of respect for it. So,
yeah. Could I say that I never expected to be discussing Hull City FC on this on this show? Alan's bringing up Hull City FC. There I see.
So I think, Andrew, just to sort of answer you correctly, the authenticity part was so important to Lawrence, even down to his costumes, and his costumes were almost replicas of what, if not exact, to what Bowie was wearing. Not just like mock-ups trying to get close. They were designed and done by his lovely other half who does it. So her name's Amy, but she was making the costumes for him, designed off.
I have one more question before we get onto the track scene. So I used to volunteer at the local operatic association here with productions. I used to help with building some of the backdrops and some of the sets and stuff like that, and was interesting watching the people come in and rehearse and get into character. And it was very clear that 90% of them, once they got in and got onto the stage, they were in character. It was very important for even at a community level to do that. So did Lawrence do that? Did he get into character?
He's a lovely guy, and obviously backstage he's getting himself Bowie-fied, so he's obviously zoned in that character, but he's obviously he has a level of respect for Bowie. He would never try to be him, but on stage, the persona thing, yes. I was actually shocked at one point because I think we were doing what song did we finish it? It might have been Rebel Rebel. I think it was one of those songs that we finished with, and when we played in a Tivoli Theatre in Brisbane, Australia, people got up on stage and they were like, in 60s clothes, and like they were dressed up like in Bowie's and some of them were sort of coming up to him, and he just did his thing. He just was in character still. He didn't sort of. I was actually said to my drummer after the show, I said I was amazed at how professionally he did that. Like he didn't like sort of like get away, or he just stayed in character and did the thing, and it was just it was one of the things that I thought of the other day. Actually, I thought, geez, that was quite I mean, we're like deers in headlights because we're up there, like this is the first time we've played these songs to an audience, like the band, and he's just a natural. He's done it for years. He's just he's like, yeah, all right, they're cool. They're just freaking out and having a good time. So
wow.
To quote, yes.
I've actually got a little bit of that somewhere, so I should share that eventually. But yeah, there's people coming up onto the stage, and like even right at the very end, like there was all these bundles of girls in the sides of the stage, like doing their hippie dancing and stuff. It was pretty funny. Yeah.
Cool.
Anyway,
all right.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
So yeah, we're gonna go back.
Lady Stardust.
You're just like freaking out, aren't you?
Yeah, just you're Mr. Danger Man today, aren't you? Oh, I'm gonna put one foot over the edge.
He's pushing the boundary of YouTube, aren't you? He's gonna get his banned.
Sorry.
Yeah, he's gonna get it.
You're going to be chopping these bits out later, aren't you?
If you don't know, YouTube are a bit funny about actually having
playing the track, sadly.
Yeah, and they copyright you and all sorts of things. They penalise you for doing it. So that's why I'm surprised Andrew's pushing the bounds of YouTube reality. So Lady Stardust, yeah. It's a beautiful song, beautiful piano piece. It's Mick Ronson's piano arrangement too, by the way. That's something that I thought. His vocal delivery is amazing in this song. Great way to start the great way to start the second side, and it keeps it in theme. Lyrical content, it's basically the song, he's basically basically like, I'm not ever going to say it. It's a beautiful song, and I gave it an 8 out of 10.
Excellent. Hey, Warren.
Hey, Warren.
Warren's arrived. We can all relax. Warren's arrived.
I'm going to get a drink, guys. I'm out.
Yeah. Carry on.
That's no problem.
Yes, I think that I mean, clearly that this song is kind of that look at Ziggy Stardust, isn't it? People stared at the makeup on his face, laughed at his long black hair and his animal grace, etc., etc. And clearly the experience of being Ziggy Stardust. It's a really good. Again, it's kind of it's a really great song to start side 2, and it's very melodic, pretty complex song. It's not a simple 3-chord thing by a distance, which I think you say a lot about a lot of David Bowie songs. They have a complexity to them that keeps them interesting, keeps them fresh, even though you've heard them 100 times, 1,000 times before. As I say, I've heard this album for 49 years, which is great. But so I'm giving this a 9 out of 10. I think it's a great start. And again, that piano thing. I'll go back to it. That lots of these songs, have the basis of them is still the piano. And the guitar is kind of the coloured bit, if you like, colours it in, makes it interesting. But the coloration, the basis of it is the piano, bass and drums, and I think it's a great song, a great start to side 2, and I think again fits into that Lady Stardust, lyrically fits into the theme that we've been discussing. I think so. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah, I give this. Sorry,
Simon, you gave it 9, did you?
I gave it a 9.
Did you give it 9? Is that what you said?
Yeah. Is that
Sorry,
okay?
I heard it.
I
was just checking.
Yeah. What did you hear? Yeah. 0.
I was just seeing if you need to find out. That's all.
No, 9. Remember, I was there.
Yeah, I give it.
Never mind you. Cheek.
Yeah, I give it a 8 out of 10. It's a solid opener. It's the theme is there, isn't it? With what's happening with the album, the lyrics are pretty clear. And again, I suppose one of the great things about songs is it's open to interpretation, to whatever you want. But on reflection, you can see what's happening there. Incidentally, I had a friend who had a dog, and the dog's name was Lady Stardust. So yeah, Bowie nut, dovetails into the ending of the song on side 1, doesn't it? A little bit like the previous 2 songs on the start of side 1. You're getting ready. We're getting ready for some cooking. Some hot sauce is going to be put on those tacos soon. So yeah.
The one thing, there's one thing that occurs to me that I'd forgotten, it just reoccurred to me, was that originally, of course, Bowie had the concept, but he was going to get somebody else to sing them. It wasn't going to be him. He was going to get this guy, Freddie, I can't remember his surname, but he was getting him to do it. And this feels like, that is that sort of angle, whereas he's talking about Lady Stardust singing songs rather than him. So I think that kind of plugs back. That reminded me that was the case, that it wasn't actually going to be him. It was going to be somebody else doing it for him, and he was just going to be the puppet master. But anyway, sorry.
So we're up to Star. Is that what we're up to? Yep.
Yeah.
So I really enjoy this song. I think I like the tempo of the song, the piano playing, the lyrical content. Obviously, he mentions a lot of stars. So He's, Look for this song. If you look at the theme of the album, it fits right in there. I'm just trying to find my notes on this one now. Sorry, I lost my place. My bad. So the song reflects idolization, basically, becoming a star himself. I gave the song an 8 out of 10, and it fits into the next song perfectly, and obviously it just flows. So 8 out of 10, never a skip for this one. Never a skip.
No. Again, I'll say this. That I think that it starts with the piano. It starts with the piano. With bass drums, electric, and kind of and has that kind of rock and roll piano in it as well. I think it's probably one of the few things that is in many ways. But I think I like the sort of the outro. I like the half-speed piano and the singing at the end and guitar breaks. With the solo and the power chords. That very much kind of putting the colour into the the basic thing, which again I think is worthy of note. Mick Ronson, playing the piano, the bass and drums are the basic thing, and then the electric guitar is the punctuation, the coloration of it and stuff gives it more character, I think. So so I'm giving it a 9 out of 10 and never a skip.
Andrew.
Just a quick shout out to Warren. He's okay. So he's a very dear friend of the show. So we just want to make sure that people are praying and keeping some good thoughts there for Warren. Good friend of the show. Good friend, and we wish him well. And keep positive, brother. Look, mate, it's a 8 out of 10 for me. It's not a skip. It's never a skip. You can't skip any song on this album. If you do, you're going to get banned. It's simple as that. So, okay.
It's tempting. Tempting.
Yeah. Look, it's 8 out of 10. It's it's again. I'm just I've got my salt and pepper on the tacos. I'm just getting ready to put that taco sauce, man, that hot sauce on. So, yeah.
Taco sauce time.
Now I'm hungry.
Can you have tacos for breakfast?
I love tacos. Far out.
We're about to myself. A very sexual song. What a rocker, What a rocker. Great guitar lead lines. Mick Ronson really shines on this one, in my opinion. The lyrical content, but the singing itself, he's got that come on. The way he does that, it's very sexual, but he was a genius. Bowie was a genius. When you listen to this song and the next song and the next song, and
careful now.
Yeah, I know. So for me, hang on to yourself, I'll give it a 20 out of 10, and it's never a skip. It's a Brad score.
Oh, 20 out of 10. Well done. Yeah, I mean, I agree. It is one of his classics, isn't it? Hang on to yourself. Clearly a song about, a relationship with somebody in that kind of rock star environment kind of thing. That was great to, and I love the fact that when I was listening to it on headphones, it speeds up in a solo. You know me, I'm a sucker for things speeding up in a solo and then slows down again as it comes out of the solo, which is really good, which means that it's proper, real. There's none of this same all the way through. Well, I think that speeding up it gives it a dynamic that just playing to click tracks and keeping it all at the same speed all the time doesn't quite give you. And if you're old like me and you're brought up on people playing in rooms together where they do that sort of thing, and you feel those things, when it gets to be the click track, you can't quite work out why it's not doing that and stuff. So, yes, I think that it's a classic, and I'm giving it a 10 and never a skip. And beyond any best of David Bowie that I was putting together for sure. Yeah, I agree, Alan. Yeah, Trevor Boulder's bass.
The bass playing and drumming in all this record is phenomenal.
Yeah. I've made some comments to talk about those that part of the band later on in some of the songs, but no argument.
Yeah. I think that also that we should say that it's as I said earlier, it's definitely a rock thing and not a rock and roll thing.
So much energy in the song, and the songs are full of energy. Like the next few, they just got that rock and roll energy. There's a vibe happening. You can tell they're playing fairly live. Like there's minimalistic stuff probably overdubbed, and what you're hearing is pretty much the guys in the room just recording the tracks. I reckon that probably would have been 1 or 2 takes, and that's about it. To be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, I think most of the vocals are first takes, aren't they? I'm sure I read that. That
I think most of them
just did it.
Yeah.
Well, it's I mean, I've heard that a lot. That actually, if you record stuff, the first couple, it's going to be within the first 2 or 3 takes of something. That's where the magic is. And if you're going to take 20, maybe it's not. Maybe it's time to stop, move on. And I think that's David Bowie. That's certainly his preferred method. You played it through 2 or 3 times, and then if it, to get it right, and that's where the magic was. So
awesome.
I think that.
What did you make, Andrew?
Yeah, look, mate, I'm just reading my notes here. It's a 10 out of 10. I just want to do another quick shout out, guys, to Sonia. Texas has had some bad luck with weather recently. Bobby Whitlock on his channel, they got flooded a couple of days ago and didn't have power for a couple of days. So special shout out to Sonia, our girl in Texas. Thank you for joining us, Sonia. Keep safe and keep well. I want to do another shout out to Alan, Jack Bruce, heavily influential bass player, and I don't think he gets enough credit for his approach to bass for a lot of bass players, and clearly the bass player on this album is heavily influenced by Jack Bruce, so we can talk about that later, maybe on a couple of the other songs which clearly do rock out. This is the beginning of something special, guys, in rock and roll history, and it's a pleasure to be part of talking about the next few songs with you guys and everyone in the chat. It's never a skip, so I just want to pass on to our introducer of this album, the next song, which is
Ziggy. Ziggy Stardust. What a song. Lyrically, I think it's based around, and it's something I read was it's like a birth to death of the character of Ziggy Stardust. That's basically what the song lyrically is about. But it's a Mick Ronson riff, and man, I every time I listen to this song, I get goosebumps. We had to play this song as well on the show.
Really?
Yeah. Phenomenal track. The bass playing, the drumming, the guitar. You can definitely hear the influences of the time, like the glam rock stuff coming through in the songs as well. There was not a heavy blues influence there, but blues was seeping in as well. So especially, moving forward with the next couple of tracks. But Ziggy Stardust, look, man, Mick Ronson on this one shines, in my opinion, and I gave it a 10 out of 10. Or 20 out of 10. It's a Brad score. Never a skip. Never a skip.
No. Well, yes, I mean, clearly it is one of the classic David Bowie tracks, isn't it? I mean, absolutely at the apex of his abilities and his, and that the opening chord sequence has got to be one of the great chord sequences in rock, isn't it? When it's so instantly recognisable. Morning, Hack, how you doing? That, and it has that kind of funny thing, doesn't it? Where it does that, where the second half is kind of, it's half speed, or is it a different, the dun da 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 da. What's it? Explain to me what's going on in that, Brad. Explain to me that the rundown.
The G to the D chord, you mean? Not
no. I'm in the D to the A. Da, 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 da.
It's just like the
but it's in a different time to the da, 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 to the G to the D.
It's like an off time, but if you count it, it's probably still 1, 2, 3, 4. I sort of left it a bit open for you guys to talk about the guitar playing on this, but if you listen to some of the lines in it, I reckon Mick Ronson influenced even guys like Jimmy Page and things like that. If you listen to the playing in this, tonality-wise, the da-na-na-na-na, so where were the spiders, that part. If you listen to that, I can hear Stairway to Heaven.
Well, Stairway to Heaven must be before this.
Was it before this?
Well, maybe about the same time. That's an interesting comparison. Yeah.
I can certainly hear things in there in other bands that were relevant at the time, but I'm taking over you guys. But
no, carry on. That's really interesting. It's not.
Oh well, I hear the guitar lines. They're really
71. Stairway to Heaven is released in late 71, so it's recorded in 1970.
Slightly
before this. Yeah.
I'm not saying it's. But it's an influence there, or back and forth, or whichever way. But this was written around the same time anyway. So because this was written around the time of Hunky Dory, I think, which is quite funny because while they were touring on this, they did a single for Aladdin Sane and released that while they're touring on this album, like they're overlapping, which is what Bowie was doing at the time frame. So amazing. Guitar playing on this track and the melody in the song is amazing. So I've taken over your explanation.
No, it's fine. No, carry on. It's really interesting. And I think that I know for me that Ziggy play guitar jamming good with Weird and Gilly. It's just like, what's Weird and Gilly? What's that about? When you hear it for the first time, it's just like I wonder who Weird and Gilly are, because they're just sound like these strange characters and kind of thing and stuff.
They're all fictional characters, always made up.
Yeah. Oh yes, but I was thinking about in 1972. You heard that kind of opening cut. I wonder, Weird and Gilly, what's that about? It's kind of strange name for musicians and things. But for me, it's as I say, it's the apex of David Bowie. Really, there's no more famous songs than other just as famous, but no more famous than that. It's oh right, Alan Garber says Jimmy Page showed it to David Bowie.
What was that?
Well, Alan Garber says that Jimmy Page showed that Where Were the Spiders part to Bowie. It was Bowie's riff, and Bowie has said that Jimmy showed him that part back when Page played on an early Bowie track. So
wow.
So I think you have yes, there is a connection there. Well done, Asa. But
I didn't know that. So thanks for that. That's great information.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah. So it's a 20 out of 10. I've played this a lot in bands as well. So and I agree, Brad. It's one of those spine tingling moments when you do that opening bit. Get the old Les Paul type and give it some power chords. It's very exciting. So 20 out of 10 from me. Brad's score.
Oh yeah.
Yes, you see, it's that bit.
Guitar.
All the way is off.
Yeah, look, I love it. Freak out! Look, I love it. I just want to carry on the lyrics that Simon, Ziggy really sang screwed up eyes and screwed down hairdo like some cat from Japan. It's just like, where does, Ziggy played guitar driving us that we were voodoo. Man, that's just phenomenal. I just, music aside, just the lyrics just captivated me and still do. Played it left hand, again, my friends just have said to me over the years, again, that reference to, the left hand path and all that kind of stuff, that he was going on. I love it, you know. And then, you know, Ronson. I didn't know who Mick Ronson was when I was a young guy when I first heard this, but I just fell in love with the guitaring, the tone. Still do. Still, you know, this song is one of the defining songs of the 1970s. I don't think we can underestimate its influence and the impact that it's had on modern music. I can't rate the song, Brad and Simon. It's just
unrateable.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
That means just 20 out of 10 or 100 out of 10.
Oh, it's phenomenal. It's phenomenal. I just think it's yeah,
you're right. It is one of those defining songs, isn't it, of the early 70s, of that era, you know.
I reckon
20 out of 10.
Yeah. Phenomenal song. And you know, we talk about, you know, I talk about in melody and songs and things a lot, and it's so catchy. You can't, it's undeniable. You can't help yourself but get sucked into it.
For sure.
And when you play the song live, it makes people get up. You're talking to things doing where they're seated, and they were getting up and, you know, dancing. So can't help it. It's
security.
So we move on to Suffragette City. You know, I always love doing that. I mean, you talk about blues. Well, here it is for you. That's like Mick Ronson, you know, hey man, freak out. I always used to love that bit. Hey man. What a song. This one, you know, the guitar playing, the piano, you know, the lyrics, magic song. I'm going to give it a 20 out of 10. You can't. I don't really know what to say about these last few songs. I mean, the way that he strums and plays, it's just like a swagger. Mick Ronson really shines on this one. You know, 20 out of 10. I'll pass it over to you guys.
I mean, completely right. This is a mainstay of our set currently. So play it every gig we do. We do Suffragette City. And as you say, it's a chance to get out the old, you know, the humbucker guitar and give it some welly, isn't it? To coin a phrase. I mean, it's another Bowie classic, isn't it? It's another one of those songs that kind of transcends him and is part of that early 70s, you know, sound of 1972. And you know, it's for me again, it's a 20 out of 10 because it is. It's very difficult to say something about a song so classic as Suffragette City, isn't it? I mean, it has that kind of, you know, we can go to. It has a kind of Clockwork Orange references in it. Don't know if you guys have seen Clockwork Orange. You seen Clockwork Orange? Right, you know, it's kind of the with Malcolm McDowell, Droogs, and all of that, and it has that kind of Little Richard rock and roll piano riff in it as well. You talk about, you know, look, a glimpse of some rock and roll in it, and those horns at the end, those kind of synth horns at the end and things, sort of, and the stop. Gotta have the stop. You see, rock and roll. The song is always improved by having a stop. But you know, so I think, but and also I think the chord sequence is really good as well. The two bits which are really good. The two halves fit together. So it's a classic. It's a 20 out of 10. You can't skip it. I mean, I suppose you could claim over familiarity would be the thing, but not for me. I great songs can't become over familiar. Really, there's always something new in them. So 20 out of 10 from me. Never a skip.
It's a song that gets played on classic rock here in New Zealand probably 10 times a week. But any song that opens with the lyrics, when you're a young cat, hey man, leave me alone. You know, of course you're going to love a song like that because, you know, leave me alone, man. Oh, I just love it. It's just fantastic. I've got images of the thin white Duke standing there with a microphone with his skinny legs shaking, while he's singing it. It's just, I can't add any more to the song other than what you two cats have already given the song, other than a 20 out of 10. It's just seamless, isn't it? It just dovetails from Ziggy into this song and then into the next song. Near perfection.
And that somehow that kind of, even the name Suffragette City is somehow sort of has an element of kind of futuristic thing about it, doesn't it? Otherworldly, futuristic kind of, those kind of in those sci-fi movies with like towers and stuff like that. I always have conjured up that image of it for me.
Still speaks to me, Arvin, as an old man. I don't like the man.
Yeah. Sorry, Brad, you were going to say so. Apologies. Come across you.
That's okay. I am just trying to think what I was going to say now. I think what it comes to is the actual the context of the record, the way it flows, and then it comes to that. This is kind of like the next song is like a reprise. It's like the end. It's like, so just mirroring what you were saying before, guys, about, and what I mentioned before, it's a concept record from start to finish. We can pick out Suffragette City and put it on as a single song and play it to someone and go, that's Bowie, great. But you have to listen to this record, and I urge everyone to pull this record out and have a good listen to it before we get into the last song. Pull this record out, listen to it from start to finish, don't skip any tracks, but do it while you got time to actually absorb what's happening. Like, don't put it on in the background while you're cleaning the house or making dinner. Sit and listen to it. It's phenomenal. Are we right to go to the last track?
Yeah,
rock and roll suicide. I just love the lyrical content in this song. I'll read some of the lyrics. Like, time takes a cigarette, puts it in your mouth. You pull on your finger, another finger, then cigarette. Wall to wall is calling, it lingers, then you forget. Oh, you're a rock and roll suicide. Too old to lose it, too young to choose it. And the clock waits so patiently on your song. You walk past the cafe, but you don't eat when you live too long. No, you're a rock and roll suicide. I mean, there's so much drama in the song. I don't know if you guys picked up on that. This song, the guitar playing, the musicianship in this song is phenomenal. That give me your hands because you're wonderful. Like, it's just so dramatic. No love, you're not alone. That bit there just gives me goosebumps. 100 out of 10 for me. I'm not going to watch. It's phenomenal. What a way to end the album.
Yeah, it's I love the way that it builds. It starts off just with the acoustic guitar and him singing, and in 6/8 time, 6/8, yeah, isn't it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah. Which I think is really cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1. Yeah, it's beautiful. It's beautiful. And that waltz kind of time as well, kind of, makes it sort of swing beautifully. But as we know, it's a kind of, it's about the death of Ziggy. Apparently gets torn apart by his audience, which is a thing. But I think, yes, it goes from that very kind of calm, just acoustic guitar and singing to the kind of screaming outro, as you say. You're not alone. Give me your hands. And yeah, because you're wonderful. It kind of that I think is the perfect ending to to an album, and gives it that bookend feel, and I think that the way it's put together, the way it builds, the way the extra instruments come in. You've got the strings, you've got synths coming in the background, and you've got the guitar intro. It's fantastic. Really sort of a little opera all of its own, little mini And I think that we've talked about this a lot. I think that that thing about how many parts can you put in a song, how many different things can what can you make it go in 3 minutes, where can you make it go, kind of thing. I think this is an object lesson in what you can do with a song, where you can make it go, and how important the arrangement and how important the playing is on that, and where you slot things in. So which I'm sure is Mick Ronson, and we've talked about him a lot, and absolutely king of the the organising of it and stuff. So me it's a 10 out of 10, never a skip. One of his classics. It's really difficult to talk about classics because everybody knows them and everybody's heard them 1,000 times before, and pick out stuff. But so definitely a 10 out of 10 for me, and the perfect bookend to a brilliant record.
Yeah, I think it's a song that is well served if you manage to listen to the previous two songs together in sequence. I mentioned it before that the Ziggy and Suffragette City are always radio songs, and they're great standalone songs, don't get me wrong. They're classics. We could just probably do a show just on those two songs. But having the opportunity to listen to Rock and Roll Suicide, it's like the cuddle after you've finished something. It's like that time where you're, it's an important part of the process. So, you just can't finish without listening to this song. I love it. I'm going to keep the same score and say it's a 20 out of 10, Brad and Simon. I can't give it anything less than that, because I'm rating this song in the context of the album, and that's one thing that we have to remind everyone in the chat. It's the album and the tracks on the album that gives it, I think, that specialness, and the show that we do, the uniqueness, because we are ranking the tracks on the album in the time and our experiences with it. So I love it. I just think it's a defining album of the 1970s, and it's been a pleasure, Brad, listening to it for the last week. I just have been inundated with the genius that is David Bowie.
I say, listening to it the way I have in the last week, like really analysing it again and putting it on from start to finish. I've actually stopped what I've been doing to finish listening to the record, because it's like there's an abundance of brilliance on this record. It drips perfection, in my opinion, as a concept record, and from the time it's a pivotal thing for Bowie, this record, because the album before he had long blonde hair. The next album comes out, he changed his appearance, and that flowed in every single album that he did in succession.
And what's really important too is that the music critics, and we like to give them a bit of a slagging sometimes if they get it wrong, don't we? And if they get some facts wrong or some myths are continued. But the limited research that I did do on this album, guys, the critics got it right. The music journalists got it right. They knew top marks that they were listening to something that was unique. And I just can't help. I don't want to ditch generations of music fans, because it's not what we're about. But I think people were listening to something, and there was some sophistication going on, I think, in the early 70s, which was a leftover from the 60s with people. I think they were hearing something that we probably don't hear intuitively these days anymore. I think there's just too much grey noise out there. But back then, I think people were hearing something that was just unique.
Yeah. Oh, I completely agree with that. I think that's what's brilliant, isn't it? That it doesn't sound like anything that came before. It doesn't sound like anything that came after. and that uniqueness of the sound. And I think, that listening to it again, you're reminded how well things were recorded, 8-track tapes and all that, how well things were recorded, and how that thing about, when you're doing stuff on tape, you can't have everything louder than everything else. You have to get a balanced instrument. So some things are going to be quieter, whatever it is, whatever you choose it to be. And, to be able to get bass, drums, guitar, strings, backing vocals, and balance it all out and make it a proper mix, I think is, at least one of the things that struck me, listen to it, how good it sounded, how great the guitar, certainly the guitar tones are great, and, classic, but also the rest of it, how the rest of it fits in, how it's all put together, by the master arranger, Mick Ronson, and the way that it's recorded, so the acoustic guitar sounds great when it needs to sound great. In the beginning of tracks, it sounds great. The beginning of Rock and Roll Suicide, that sounds really good. It's got the sound, it's big. They understand that stuff in a way. If you're doing it on a CD now, you can make everything louder than everything else. And you kind of, I think for me, you lose a dynamic by being able to do that. By some things just have to be quieter. Like on a tape, some things have to be quieter. Look at that of Budgie. Oh, yeah. Burke Shelley. There we are, you see. I
had a friend who was a
big hit on the radio here.
No. Well, I had a friend who was a big Budgie fan and a Tigers of Pantang, and that's all he would listen to.
I had a friend who would listen to nothing but Frank Zappa. The only albums he had were Frank Zappa. Like that's quite out there. But anyway, So I think that's what I'd like to say about this album. How unique it is, and how brilliantly recorded it is, and how the tones and stuff are all instantly recognisable. The songs instantly recognisable. And
go and check out the footage. Go to YouTube. I spent probably too many hours, guys, over the last week just looking at some of the footage of Bowie playing. It's just remarkable. What he was doing, and that interaction. I don't think those photos that you showed at the top of the show, Brad, gave justice of the interaction that he had with Mick Ronson. That what they were doing, and you kind of sort of get the idea. Maybe you're waiting for David Bowie to break, to snap. He's just you can't. He's a very strong guy. Don't get me wrong. But he gives you that impression. Again, what a great character that he's just about ready to snap.
Yeah.
That includes the masterpiece, in my opinion, of this wonderful record. And for me, guys, I like to give this record 100 out of 100. It's just a defining moment in rock history, and this album definitely made Bowie's career, in my opinion. He was always going to be a star, let's be honest, but the choices he made for this record are phenomenal. So
awesome. No, it's been a pleasure.
And thanks, guys, for giving me the opportunity to present this. Obviously, hopefully I covered it enough for you guys to get a gist of what the album's about. But I do encourage everyone, if you like David Bowie, there's just a wealth of information about him. I could have went on for hours, but I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to get into the juicy parts of the songs. But, get into it, guys. The masterpiece.
Well, look, brother, I appreciate.
This is the moment that for so many people change over in that. You can get that. Come on. Never mind your bleached out sealer. You'd never think that so innocuous an image would cause such a stir, but it absolutely did. Fantastic. And, if you can cause that sort of cultural stir, then hats off to you.
Bowie. Okay, well, I'm sorry, Warren. David Bowie.
Bowie. Oh.
So, if you enjoyed the show, guys, subscribe. If this is for the people who haven't already subscribed, and for
share the channel.
Share the channel, please. We've got a goal we want to get to, and obviously there's a t-shirt giveaway. So I'm just doing a bit of a plug for the channel.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. And I'm on a plug for Brad. There he is there. Instagram, easy. You guys open up an Instagram account, Brad Cook Music. You can keep in touch with the channel, what we're doing there. Brad does other things, lots of things on his Instagram channel. He's not solely working for us, you know. He's got other stuff going on, but he squeezes us in every now and again. So if you want to keep updates with us there, we'd appreciate it.
Do it, Andrew. You won't let me leave. That's the thing.
Yeah. So we've got 3 shows planned next week, guys. We've got the 5150 show, and then we've got an interview with Michael, who is in a tribute Clapton band on Sunday. My co-hosts here currently have agreed for us to do the Sunday show on Monday. And this gives me an opportunity now to put the Rock Professor into the picture, because he's going to tell us the album that we're going to cover next week for you. Simon, ta-da!
This is the album we're going to do next week.
Oh,
awesome!
Yes. Oh,
awesome!
Yes.
Fantastic.
We are.
Let me just present him, just in case you guys can't catch that glare.
Sorry.
There it is.
We're going to do Machine Head. Deep Purple.
Fantastic.
Oh yes, we are.
Fantastic. Cool.
Finally, Deep Purple.
Well, do you know what, Brad? That's what I thought. I was looking through the stuff last night and going, what am I going to do? And then I thought, we haven't done any Deep Purple. We haven't talked about. We don't really talk about. We haven't done anything to do with it. That's what we're doing. We're doing Deep Purple. We're doing Machine Head.
Yeah. So we'll be on Monday now, about half an hour later than normal. Is that correct? Because we've got some things that we've got to do. I've got to get home. Brad's got a couple of things he has to do. Simon's got some tea to make. Because we sacrifice a lot.
5:30 in the morning.
We sacrifice a lot for you guys. We're star men.
The least you can subscribe to us. Far out.
Look at the size of it.
Freak out.
Far out.
Hey now.
Far out.
Guys,
hey man,
it's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed doing this album. It's been very, very, very interesting, Brad, over the last week going through this album, thinking about it. It's putting this album into context with the Van Halen album that we're doing, you just couldn't get so far apart. So Simon,
that's cool,
if you'd like,
that's cool.
If you'd like to do the sign off to everybody in the chat, we'll split.
So well, and Nelson, who's been here from the beginning, thank you, Nelson.
Nelson is a man.
Next week, the man.
Deja Voodoo.
And Deja
Lurking.
Voodoo. Yeah, lurking. Fantastic. Thanks, Deja Voodoo. And Warren, stay safe and well, Warren. I hope you're all right, mate.
Cheers,
we look
brother.
forward to the unboxing of your EC guitar currently round at your neighbours. So you don't know.
Roadie.
That's funny. Hobo Roadie, yeah. And Arvin. Who else did we have? Alan Gerber. Is it Gerber or Garber?
Dr. Alan Garber.
Yeah, marvellous. Thanks, Alan, for your contributions. Really cool. Guitar hack. Yes, Andrew is to blame. Quite rightly, I think. Let's go back to the beginning. So we had Ellen for a sign, and we had Amy as well, and Sonia, of course. Stay safe and well in sunny Texas, Sonia. Hope the sun comes out for you. It warms up a bit. Here, it hasn't been that great. So hopefully I got everybody. So thanks all for joining. It's been really good. And thanks for all your contributions. Fantastic as ever. And stay safe and well this week.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm just going to end the comment with Guitar Hack's comment here saying Mick Ronson made David Bowie in the early days. No argument. I think we have to remember that.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
100%.
We've recognised his contribution to this album and Bowie's career.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay,
fantastic.
Guys. Stay safe.
Take care.
God bless. Keep out of trouble.
Bye.